Okay, hello guys, been on 46 here. Welcome to today's video. So we are playing on the black side against the 2012 rated Jelenciak. He plays one e4. We'll go with we played a Caracan. We'll go with a Sicilian, I guess. And he's actually someone I've played before. I lost in the Blitz game, it would seem. Okay, so he goes for the closed Sicilian with knight c3. So here we can play knight c6, bishop e5. Yeah, our typical stuff. I guess we'll go g6, put our bishop on g7. He takes. You're supposed to take back with the b pawn. You're supposed to take towards the center. It's very tempting to take with the d pawn because it releases the bishop early, but it also takes away from your potential control of the center. He castles will go knight. Actually, yeah, I mean, in general, one of these two pawns should move if I put my knight on f6. This is what I'm just wondering. I'm just calculating the consequences of this move, but I think it's not very good for him. Mainly because of my pawn on c5. He doesn't play d4 very easily. Also, I'm probably just overthinking it. He's going for a close Sicilian, so probably he's planning to go with like e3 and then go like f4, f5 with some sort of attack. I could also play d5 here, which might be the best move. Yeah, because it's like the move that equalizes, right? It strikes back in the center, gives me an equal stake in it, and now I can play knight f6 with some confidence. Because again, he doesn't get d4 in easily, so it's difficult for him to maintain his structure, and I'm piling on a bit of pressure on that structure. So he goes knight g3, will castle. I think I'm doing fairly fine here. So how do we continue? What's our plan? This is the question. We can put a bishop on e6, I guess. There aren't a ton of squares for the bishop. Both of these are not available, so I mean here, or here. Maybe here. Here is also very interesting. Play some like c4. This looks a bit too funky for my liking. We'll put a bishop on e6. I think that's a playable idea. Especially when he doesn't have any knight g5 available to harass the bishop. It's a fine square. And then we'll try and put a rook on the b file and attack down this file or something like that. He should be looking to attack me down the king side. So I expect f4, f5 to be like something he's planning towards. And I should probably think about how I'm going to meet that, because I'm not entirely sure what I should do if he goes f4, f5. Yeah, he goes for e5. I was kind of, half baiting him into this because I didn't think it was very good. And I thought the problem was that, usually if you can play d4 comfortably, then it's very fine. But here I'll always take on d4 and then the pawn will hang. So you'll be forced to go f4. Already f4 is part of your plan, but after f6, I might not successfully chipping away at that pawn center. This was my entire thought process. But now that I look at it, I think my bishop just gets trapped. So like after knight e7, f4, f6, if he goes f5 first, I guess pawn takes. Okay, pawn takes and I win a pawn. So that might be just fine, I guess. This idea with f6, because if he has to take back, then he has almost no attack left on the king side, and my two bishops are looking very nice. And that's another part of the imbalance here, that I'm playing with the two bishops against the bishops and the knight. So in general, the more open the position becomes, the happier I am. And now, do I want to take with the knight or the bishop? I guess then the knight doesn't really seem to have a ton of prospects from this square because of these 2 pawns, right? But Salim doesn't seem to have a ton of prospects from here either, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to take with here. It's probably not a decision I'm supposed to waste a lot of time on, but That is just the nature of my. I'll take with the knight because of this potential idea of pushing this guy and working the knight in here. Some permutations like that might exist. It's also, I think, an idea to push d4 and go c4 afterwards, right? That seems to open things up nicely as well. So yeah, okay. He should probably start trying to attack me down this. I thought this one, he didn't really pay too much attention to it. So after takes, knight takes, I guess he'll be very happy with that. So I'll just put the bishop on f7. That's a move I kind of want to make anyways, so I'm not too unhappy. With it. And if he takes, I'll take back, I guess, with the bishop. And I might actually eventually argue that opening up the g file is better for me than it is for him, because I have these bishops that keep my king tagged in very nicely. And I mean, if he takes here and I take on g6 with the bishop, I could eventually work my king onto h8 and put my rook on the g file and start asking him rather questions on the file that he just opened. So that's so it goes there. Okay, so the bishop just left defense of that pawn, so we'll ask a small question of that pawn, how he intends, if he intends to continue creating these dark square weaknesses, or if he wants to put a rook then here. Here, what do I do? Can I play like, no, h6 is probably too weakening to my king. So we can start developing stuff, I guess. My queen could use some development. I guess queen here. Queen b6, then like rook d8, and then the ideas of playing both d5 and c5, both d4 and c4 seem very nice to me. So how do we start with rook d8? Probably. The only thing I don't like is my e7 pawn. It looks so weak here. Probably leaving the f file is not great as well, right? I'm misplaying this a little bit. I'm misplaying this probably more than just a little bit. So he goes here, and now I wanted to play this and this. Yeah, so we'll start with this one. Oh, this allows him to. Oh no, I should have started with d4. Oh, that was really bad. I'm not playing well today. I should stop while I'm ahead. Yeah, he should just play d4 here, keep the center closed. And I would have given him more than he deserves in this position. I guess there I do have c5, to be fair. I do have c5. So maybe all is not lost just yet. Okay. So yeah, basically we're just trying to open the position up. There's not much sophistication to our plan. We open the position up, get our bishops, better than his knights. That's like the long and short of it. Okay, so the knight wants to pivot into some juicy-looking squares. They are juicy-looking squares, I will admit. But my counter point, I guess, would be that do you have the time to do all that, right? Do you have the time? So how do I want to do this? Let's just take c5, c4. If he wants me to, I will play c5, c4. I mean, why not? Yeah, I'm not in love with my position, but I don't particularly hate it as well. Not just yet. So he hits that e7 pawn. I guess just rookies with d7 should be fine. He holds the pawn down, steps out of these knight stuff. Probably I should have played like e5 earlier, or at least e6, to try and clarify this, because it seems like tension that he can use favorably for himself. Anyways, right now at least I have a threat of playing d4 and then unleashing my bishop over here. At least I have a threat. It's a threat which I think I can start making moves on right. Let me just take a pawn. Just take the pawn. Just take the pawn. Let's not complicate things. Just as simple. So if rook a1, I guess I can even take the b pawn. Why not? Oh, that's why not. My bishop would be hanging. Yeah, so if queen takes, rook a2 would be possible. Yeah, okay, so I do have to come back. He wants to put his knight here, I guess. I don't even have to take, do I? I can still just take here, actually. Seems dangerous though. But I don't see a way of him punishing me just yet. Yeah, so he decides to defend like this. What to do? Let's double rooks over here. I want to play c4 and then push my d pawn through. So is he going to play knight e6 or not? I mean, I expected this move a while, but now I probably will have to take. After takes, I can play rook e6. Ooh, okay, I can play rook e6 and then hit the pawn. And then I'll probably have time to go back to my plan of playing c4 and getting a pass pawn on the d4 that I can push the picture. I also have 0 time left as usual. But this is not a threat, is it? It's not a threat. I mean, the rook holds the pawn down, so the queen is not really threatening to take. So okay, so he decides to do this. I can take. I'll prefer to push. I still do get a passed pawn, but it's on a file that is not as heavily controlled as this one. And he holds it down. And then I guess I can do this. And then if takes, we'll take back with the bishop. Goes there. So we'll take. We'll come here. Knight b4 is a threat. I guess queen here too should be a threat, so I'll go there. Again, knight b4 is a threat. This is possible. Okay, so knight b4 it is. This pawn 2 is hanging. It's looking good for me, I guess. It looks winning actually. The queen has to find a square. Yeah, he just times out. Okay. So that was a win. At least I equalized my score with him. The game itself was fairly interesting. Yeah, you play this Closed Sicilian and g6. This is all fairly. Usually you don't want to take. I mean, by it's played, I think it's okay. Sometimes they do take like this on c6 without being prompted. But I mean, in general, usually you don't want to give up a bishop for a knight. But he has a clear idea, right? And he wants to play a close center and wants to attack down my king side. I think it's the attack down the king side that didn't really come as quickly as it should have. So I played bishop on g7, he castled. I played d5. I think that's the correct breaking move in the structure in general. I have the 2 bishops, so I want to open up the center. He wants to close down the center with d3. So I think he is supposed to play d. What did he play? Yeah, he did play d3. And then knight f6, knight g3 was okay. I castled. He played h3. H was the first move that I guess he's playing against me playing bishop g5. But the thing is, whenever I play that, he's going to play f3 and I'm going to have to move my bishop back. So it's not really a threat. You have to waste time parrying. There are times when you do play h3, especially in structures where you intend to play f4 like this, because you want to stop the knight rather from coming in. So in that sense, I guess it does make sense. But How do you continue? So bishop, my bishop on e6, he played e5. Yeah, so here I thought f4 was what he should have gone for. Keep the center closed, just go for the king side attack. f4, f5, queen e8, you know, to help. Then the bishop comes in somehow. The knight usually is not on g3 in these structures, so that was a bit of an anomaly as well. But yeah, that's the general plan. But he pushed this e5, and I mean, I was kind of daring him to, right? Because once it's not easy for you to play e4 to solidify the pawn, it always becomes a bit funky, because playing f4 weakens your king somewhat, especially along these dark squares. So okay, knight dropped back to d7, f4 happened, and I thought I would just play f6 and try and break things up. So initially I was worried about this f5 push, but after a bit of after I looked at it a bit, I realized it wasn't at all scary. I'll just have to acquiesce to open my g file. So he took, and after taking back, I think I'm doing fairly well. He played f5, bishop f7, and takes here. I was trying to take back with my bishop, and then just put my rooks on these two files and try and attack him. So bishop g5 happened. Then once the bishop moved away, I played rook b8 to take out that square. Rook b1 was played, and then here I think I started losing the plot a little bit. I played this queen b6, the idea of putting my rook in the center and trying to open things up with these two moves. I think my queen ended up a bit offside, and I think my rooks might just do better on the E and D files than they did on the D and D files, because at some point I really wanted to have a rook behind this E pawn, and I think I might have been better self pushing this pawn earlier than I ended up doing, right? So like here, a rook e8 e6 plan kind of forces his hand, clarifies things a little faster than it did in the game. I'm not entirely sure that it's better though. I don't want to look at it with an engine. So I played queen b6, so his king stepped out of the pin, then rook fd8 came, then the queen came to d2, so I think maybe he's hinting at this, trying to attack my king side a bit more. But again, he never really followed through with any of these threats, and that was the problem with his with the entire setup. So I played d4, c4 first. I thought, right after I played, I thought maybe I was mistaken. I should have started with this move d4, but looking back on it, I think maybe it was just fine. I didn't want to start with this because it allowed his knight in here, and I didn't want to deal with that. It's probably also fine, and I can already probably even play c4 in that position, or maybe I take the knight first. Maybe I even play knight d5. They're all very interesting, but yeah, eventually my plan is just to play these two moves. So I started with c4. Initially I thought he could play d4 and close everything down, but then I realized after that playing c5 would still open things up. And again, once the center opens up and my bishops come better than his minor pieces, I should be doing fine. So he played a knight backward with the idea of coming here, and again he threatened this, but he never really executed. He just sort of threatened a lot of things but never executed, never playing bishop h6, never putting his knight on the e6 square. I think that was the way he would have maybe maintained the balance. So I went c5, planning to go again for these two moves, just to open up the center, bring my rooks into the game, bring my bishops into the game. He played queen e3, hitting my weak pawn on e7. It was about this time that I started regretting the placement of my two rooks right here. I really wished I had them there instead. So I played rook d7 to kind of hold the pawn. He got the knight into f4. I started with d4, queen e2, and I just snagged the pawn. I mean, I'm either taking the pawn, I'm playing for like this c4 idea, but I think here I can take the pawn. I mean, it's a blitz game. If you can take material, it tends to be good. Here I couldn't take this pawn because of this tactic, which I saw just in time, thankfully. So the bishop came back to f7, and again I really expected him to put his knight on the e3 now, but he did not. He played rook fb1, holding down this pawn, I mean, which you can also kind of understand. And then I doubled my rooks, and c4 now is the idea. Probably he can't play b3. Okay, so yeah, it's tough, but he has a lot of pieces here, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of way for him to create enough counterplay on the king side. But I do also have a lot of pieces to defend my king, but he didn't really find anything. He played rook e1, and after c4 I think it became already very difficult. from here, I do expect to be able to win this after I'm able to create a pass pawn. The other option would have been to take here and use this pass pawn, but then it would be so well blockaded, right? It takes back with the knight, and the pawn is not moving anytime soon. So c3 seemed to be simpler, and after the pass pawn occurred on the c file, he tried to blockade with the queen, but the queen is not a great blockader. It can always be attacked. So the knight just heads over to the b4 square, and it doesn't seem like he can hold. All my pieces start coming to life. So yeah, the knight now finally tries to come into e6, but I think it's a bit too late. After takes, the rook now defends the pawn. Knight b4 is coming, which leaves this guy hanging, and he can't really stop me from pushing c7, and then he can't really stop the bishop from coming to b2 to control this square. So I mean, he will have to give up some material to stop that pawn. He played there, the queen moves to a5, solidifying the pawn and then creating extra tactics on this bishop. I think that was the final straw that broke the camel's back, and after knight b4, the simply are no moves. So yeah, that was a fun game, I guess. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment, drop a like. Happy chessing, and I'll see you later.